So, mana mana saya? Just, you're the young guy, man. So, well, first of all, thank you for being here, guys. I missed you all my sessions. It's really good, really. And you're not here, so you stuck with that guy. I'm sure he's more fun than me, but if in case you're curious about what I've been talking about with your parents here, is that how important it is for us to be a church that is relevant for everybody, from the old one to the young one. And I have a very strong suspicion that our churches are not very relevant to you guys, because it was started by them and they're still leading it for the most part. Usually we're quite myopic in the way that we can only see what we see. So we need help to be able to see what you see, because the thing that we hope for is that this is the big question that we're praying and like, oh God, can this be? We want to see our children, you guys, as excited as we were 20 years ago, 25 years ago,
Yes.
and planting the church, I asked them, do you really think that your kids would be as excited as you were planting an IFGF church here in America? And I have serious doubts that is the case. And if you are not as excited as us 25 years ago planting an IFGF church here, we want to really know why, and not just to ram it down your throat, but we want to learn, because I have a strong suspicion that maybe it is because it doesn't fit you very well. And so we want to deliberately, intentionally create a church experience. Create a church experience that would be inclusive for everyone. And therefore it is critical for us to hear from you guys. What would excite you? What kind of church experience would excite you and would make you excited, like, this is the kind of church I want to plant right here in the United States? Yeah. When we planted our IFGF church, now you have to realize that God did work. I mean, we were a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, young people. We started, we planted, we planted the church, and until now it thrives. So it did not die, despite our foolishness, in spite of all the mistakes that we make. I mean, when we started in 1981, we really don't know what we're doing. I was 18, Pastor Jimmy, the leader, the great fearless leader, was 19. That was 1981. So now, 37 years later, we grew from one to 3 fellowships into 3,400 churches in 40 countries. Something has gone right in this movement. But we don't take that for granted and then say, look, this is our track record. We have 3,400 churches. We don't need to listen to you. We got to march on. No. You are the leader of the next great move of IFGF, move of God in IFGF. So we must hear from you. You know why? Because we need to be transitioning to a different role now in the leadership. Just to give you an example, in Los Angeles, I'm already transitioning out as a senior pastor. I started this year. By Easter 2020, I will step down already. I'm still young, but by 2020, not even, I would be 59 by then, not even 58 by Easter 2020. I will only be 59. And yeah, I was born in 1961. By 2020, I will be 59. But Easter, I will still be 58. Right? At Easter, I will still be 58. I will be handing down the leadership of IFGFLA to the next generation that I've been preparing right now. So we want to transition the leadership to you guys. What will you guys need? What do you need? How can we, what can we do for you? Because right now my focus is not how I'm leading the church. My focus is how I prepare my next leader to be successful. And I told Steffi, look, I'm still young. I can still do this for another 10, 20 years. I can still do this. No problem at all. However, it's not about me. It's about the church. I need to step down. I need you to lead. So that if you make a mistake, if you make a mess, I'm still young and strong to clean up your mess. Everybody's going to have to make mistakes too. The best way to make good decisions is to make bad decisions. Then you learn from it, right? So go ahead, make bad decisions. Go ahead, screw up. Maybe that's the only way to learn. And then I'll be here to help you. So right now, I don't even attend my staff meetings anymore. Don't do it anymore. I'm not in the church meetings. I don't. But I spend a whole day every week mentoring Steffi. So he told me about the meeting, this and then I'm only talking. Anybody ask me anything in the church, I said, go to Steffi, go to Steffi. I'm not making decisions. And it's frustrating, to be honest. It's hard because everything moves so slow now. I like to go very fast. But it's not about me, right? It's about the church, about the Lord. So with that spirit, I hope you're catching this, you're understanding this. I'd like you to speak up. So what is your church experience like? What is the top 3 things that you like about IFGF Church, and what are the top 3 things that you don't like about IFGF Church? Okay. So Ben looks like my ready. Oh, okay. Right. Okay, I'll give you a pass.
Yes, you made very. Okay. Yes, you make great points about how everyone needs to be included in the church.
Yes.
That we, including the younger generation, to step up and continue the church and bringing it, continue it moving and progressing. But of course, this generation, our young generation, we need you too. And in order for that, for us to be able to step up, we need someone to show the way. And that requires building relationships with each other, with one another. And I think something that I would like to see in a church would be seeing adults and the youth together as friendships, not always just youth separate and then the adults separate, but everyone talking to one another, intertwined. And I believe those relationships is what will help us grow together and move as a church of God and really create that community in the sense of love and kindness. And I think something I find as a barrier too is the language. I do get excited of learning God's word and learning of the Bible and everything, but it's hard if it's in another language and I can't understand what I'm learning. So I think something that'd be really good, especially in prayer too. I want to pray, but I don't know the words of the prayer. So I believe a lot of the younger generations, it's more English based, and that's what we're growing up into. And the adults could also help with speaking English and communicating in both of those ways. I think it was great how the songs have both the Indonesian and the English. That made it more powerful to me, how I could understand what the meaning of the song is. So I think that really helps every one of us, is just breaking those barriers that may keep us from knowing God, but also allowing us to know each other too.
Great. Tell us your name and who's your parent and where you're from and how old you are.
I'm Sonia. I went by myself to here.
Wow. Are you from Columbus?
Yes, I'm from Columbus.
Yeah, that's on the road.
Have you ever heard a young person like this? They want to talk to us. I'm dreaming of my youth saying that. Because as soon as I come close to them, they all disperse. Nobody wants to talk to me. Because maybe I look funny. But yeah, what a great spirit you have. And You see, you gotta learn English. Do you have adult schools here? In
Library.
you have adult schools, right? So they teach English as a second language and all that. It's free, right? On, guys.
Lidahnya kaku.
Yeah. Ya dipijitin dong.
Kegigit.
Look, gak ada yang maksa kamu pindah Amerika ya.
Pegang.
Keputusanmu sendiri. It's your decision. Move here. Better learn the language here. Huh? Okay, next one. Ben. You already holding a mic. Go talk now. Stand up so I can see how big you have become. Okay.
I'll stand right there. Sonia said a lot of the things I was thinking about before. Like all the adults and the kids are separated except for like the toddlers and stuff. But the youth, the middle classes, they don't talk to any of the adults. And if you ask any one of the people in youth, they don't know like half the adults in our church. So
You know me, right?
yeah.
Yeah, but
I see you like once a year.
You're still a kid too.
How old are you? 40?
Young at heart.
But if you have leaders, like in New York, we have a pastor from another church to teach our youth, and he's relatively young. He's like 26, I think. And so he can relate to us a lot more, and we can talk to him a lot more easily. And my youth says that listening to him is a lot more interesting than listening to Debbie.
When I say it, there's no repercussions. So I said it for him.
But yeah, the kids don't really talk to adults. They don't communicate with the adults in the church, and that's a problem.
Okay, so let's just two people have said this now. Okay, let's unpack this a little more. Yeah, the kids are not talking to the adults. My guess is the adults actually want to talk to the kids even more than the kids want to talk to the adults. I think, at least in my case, that's what I want. I want to sit here. I don't want to sit there. I want to sit here. It's more exciting. Make me feel young. You know, the whole thing, rather than all these wrinkled up, challenging. But in my experience, it's been difficult. Like you said it yourself just now. You said about that 26-year-old guy. He's more interesting than and then you stop because you realize you might get in trouble. But how do we become relevant to you? How can we become interesting to you instead of boring? Talk to us. Anyone? Tim.
I think the language barrier is important because, again, like English is our main language because for us, because we were born here, most of us were born here.
And it's not your fault too.
So I feel like maybe because we were born here, we're still in this country, maybe we should speak the language that we're most comfortable with. And also, instead of maybe just the pastor or another pastor just mentoring us, maybe we can have our own parents mentoring us. Instead of like, maybe every Sunday during TYC, like the pastor will tell us like what to do, or on a Friday, like, because Philadelphia, we have a youth session every Friday, but we can also have our parents to instruct us on what to do. That allows us to use the Word of God and apply it to life. And in situations like maybe if we have an argument with a friend, or if we're being bullied, we can still apply how we should act towards one another and in develop relationships with other people. And also, I feel like the TYC sometimes, not everybody talks to each other. So maybe we can start, maybe in some situations we can have a youth retreat, maybe we can hang out. And then that would be fun, a youth retreat where we'll get to know each other better. And even on, once the November comes again for the actual retreat, we can talk with each other and the adults at the same time, where the adults are not just so like separated from us, but they can relate to how we feel instead of just them telling us their experiences, but understanding how we feel as well. So I think that's important.
I think what you're saying, tell me if I'm right, not, sometimes we as adults, when we get together with our kids, we thought that what's expected of us is for us to tell them stuff. And I think it's not always true that that's the case. Sometimes we just need to be there and be interested in them and in their stories, in their struggles, and be in their world, enter their world, and just listen and not say anything really. Not tell them, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, or don't. Instead of jumping on, just because we have gone through it and then come out with a certain conclusions, does not mean they want our conclusions right now. Rather, they just want somebody to travel their journey with. Am I?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. And also maybe the environment, because I know like we're all used to such a formal environment, the adults. So it's like stairs, chairs are stacked like this. When I went to Balai Sarbini in Indonesia, the TYC room was decked with couches and the carpet and pillows, and you can lay on the ground and you can lay in couches, and it's a lot more comfortable. And then the whole TYC was running it without any adults involved. I'm not saying it's bad without adults. Well, it's bad to have adults involved, but it's fine. But it's like we have our own independence. We get to do it how we want to do it, and instead of like just the environment is a lot more comfortable and less so like somebody's watching you, so you have to sit up straight or you have to keep your eyes on the pastor. It's just a lot more of a comfortable vibe. And then we get to, instead of just being so like just formal, we get to talk with each other and then like talk about our own day maybe, or what happened over the weekend. So it's like it'd be more fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I love pillows and all that. It's just these old people, you give them pillows, they fall asleep. I can't do that. They need to sit up straight, otherwise they will not be paying attention. They will be falling asleep because they're old.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, okay. So let's move on to the next thing. That I want to ask you things. Okay, so are you getting it? What they're saying?
Yes.
All right. Now, let's take a look into the future a little bit. Right? We're gonna get older, slower, more sleepy. It's gonna be you. It's gonna be you being the leaders, right? So let's take the adults out of the equation right now. Let's think just about you. In order for you to be successful leaders of the church, what can we prepare for you? What can we do for you? What kind of support role can we play that will benefit you most? Anyone would like to address that? You being the leader. So it's not anymore, but you want a mentor, you want how we should speak to you. No. Take us out of the picture. You are leading. How can we help you get there? What is your needs?
Faith. I think a lot of us, like some are very optimistic like about God. Like some of us are sometimes still not totally dependent and believe, that we believe that we can be independent from God, like some of us. So I feel like if we have a stronger faith, that would help a lot.
How do you get there though? I mean, in order for all of you to have stronger faith, what do you think you would need? Should I take you to Saudi Arabia to get more faith? Or, I mean, what I'm getting at is, how can we, as the older generation, as the parents, how can we help you get more faith? What? Yes, go ahead. Tim, please.
Hi, I'm from Philadelphia. My name is Oche. I think the biggest problem with us, Pastor Ming is our pastor from Philadelphia. He keeps telling us he wants to pass the baton. And I think the only issue between passing the baton is that sometimes it's a different baton that we want, if you know what I mean. It's not something, it's traditional always. And traditions change over time. It's just a fact. We started off with sticks thousands of years ago, and look at where we are right now. We're in a concrete building, and soon we'll be in glass buildings or something, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes the language changes too. And I don't just mean from Indonesian to English. I mean how we learn things, how we communicate with each other, you know what I mean? And going back to tradition, traditionally, this is a church setting. And we have rows, and then we have the music up front, and we have the pastor speak in the middle. I think as youth, we aren't accustomed to that yet, or maybe not at all, like in the future. I think Tim was right that we need to be in a more comfortable setting, and a setting in which we can actually talk to each other instead of having like one leader in the middle. So what I'm trying to say is, like, I think like we can all agree here from youth, you guys want to be more, I don't know, not lenient. You guys want to be lenient? Okay. They want to be, yeah, somebody said independent. They want to be more independent for things. They want to be able to express themselves with each other without having someone say you should. You know what I mean? And from what I keep hearing, like from sermons, it's, you mentioned it before, you should. And Coco Marcel also said it in his sermon this morning, you should. And you know what that leads to? Unhappy life. You're not comfortable with all of that. So I think the main issue is that we need to change the tradition to more modern terms. And maybe 50 years from now, when we all have children or whatever, grandchildren, tradition's gonna change. Maybe it goes back to here, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But I know that for a fact that we're all comfortable in a smaller setting. So the language just needs to change, is what I'm saying. I think we can all agree, like at least this section. So.
Language has to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Language setting.
How we say things. We may say the same thing, but the language has to change. So, yeah. Like in my church now, I just had this conversation with Pastor Staffy, like, okay, a few words that we have to put in our books to rule out that we will never speak it in public or put it in the slides. Reach out. I think everybody's tired of that word. To reach, outreach or evangelism, or things like that, or those words that need to be updated. I think young people still are passionate about the same things. It's just that the way it is communicated, that is correct. Anyone else? What do you need? What can we help to prepare you for as leaders of the future? Go ahead. What's your name again, sorry?
Sonia from Columbus.
Sonia, C-E-R-N-I-A?
C-O-N-I-A.
Co-
Oh, S-O.
Sonia. Sonia, S-O-N-I-A. Yeah.
I think something would be really nice is if maybe our parents or just adults have more empathy for us. Like our parents might tell us, come sit down at the rows and be quiet and just listen. You know?
Yeah.
And I could think, why? I want to like be active. I want to like talk to people and be like social. But I feel like I have to sit down and just listen. And like maybe my parent doesn't understand that I want to be like doing something more active because I'm younger. Like I would prefer to be moving and being like around other people. And I think maybe if the parents were thinking of like, what if they were me? What would I want? Like knowing that I have all my friends here, but then all they're doing is like just sitting down, and their parents are just telling them sit and be quiet. That ruins like the connection or that community too. And I think that's going back to what Oche said about tradition. Is like it's just tradition to sit in the church, being quiet and listening. But let's really try and get involved in each other's lives and understand one another, and not every like tradition has to be the way that it has to be, but in a way that is more inclusive to everyone.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you.